They say God gives speed to those destined to outrun their obstacles. But for Jérémy Doku, speed wasn't a gift. It was a weapon forged through doubt, rejection, and fear of failure, turned into a roar loud enough to shake the Premier League. Before cameras followed him, before crowds screamed his name every time he touched a ball, before Manchester City placed him into their crown with the world's most explosive wingers, he was simply a quiet kid in Antwerp, shy, reserved, often overlooked. Family whispered prayers that one day the world would understand his brilliance. Coaches begged him to slow down at training. But destiny doesn't move slowly, not when stamped with lightning. Today, when Doku walks through the Etihad tunnel, the stadium lights don't just acknowledge him. They flare brighter, like they recognize the arrival of something rare. A human blur with the ball tied to his boots, hips shifting like liquid, defenders already bracing for humiliation before he even lifts his boot. A Ferrari in a league full of armored trucks, a storm dressed as a footballer. He didn't buy supercars for attention, didn't flood Instagram with jewelry. He kept a quiet luxury, built from sacrifice and faith. The boy from Belgium who turned raw pace into artistry now steps off private jets in tailored streetwear, walks into five-star hotels with businesslike calm, and returns home to family warmth, reminding himself where the real gold lies. His roots stayed deep, even as the world pushed him higher. Doku's life is not noise. It's thunder, controlled, disciplined, earned. But to understand him now, you must go back to where it started. He wasn't born into fame, no handouts, just immigrant parents with iron discipline and belief. In a tight apartment in Antwerp, football wasn't a hobby. It was identity, survival, escape. Young Jérémy spent hours chasing the ball barefoot on concrete, weaving through older boys, falling, bleeding, standing up, always sprinting again. His father watched quietly, seeing fire in his steps. His mother whispered blessings over him before bed. Dreams filled the walls louder than arguments, louder than poverty. Yet Jérémy wasn't fearless, not then. He was shy, anxious, scared of disappointing those he loved. Even when Anderlecht discovered him, he still questioned himself. He had the body of a boy, but the feet of a prodigy. His speed terrified coaches. His dribbling felt alien, unpredictable, like nature rewriting physics in real time. And then came the moment that could have changed football history. Liverpool called, Klopp called. The Anfield door opened wide, and Doku stood right there, on the edge of choosing a path many boys only fantasize about. But something inside him whispered not yet. He said no to Liverpool. No to the Premier League. No to the easy temptation of fame too early. It shook pundits. It impressed icons. Even Klopp smiled. Because only someone destined for greatness turns down greatness on purpose. He didn't chase opportunity. He built himself until opportunity chased him. At Anderlecht, there were moments defenders looked at him like soldiers staring at a missile. When he ran, crowds gasped. When he dribbled, opponents prayed. But Jérémy kept quiet. He didn't celebrate loudly, didn't talk big, didn't sell himself online. In a world where players curate celebrity like currency, Doku chose invisibility over vanity. His work spoke louder than any post ever could. Then came Rennes, the chapter where the Polish began. Harder league, bigger pressure, defenders twice his size, twice his experience, trying to cage a tiger. They failed. Clip after clip went viral, bodies falling, legs twisted, stadiums rising with every step. Still, doubts lingered. Can he finish? Can he create consistently? Is he just pace? Analysts debated, but Jérémy sharpened. He studied, he matured. He became more than chaos. He became controlled threat. Every sprint became calculated. Every feint became precise. And the world noticed. Manchester City called. Pep Guardiola, a man who collects football geniuses, chose him. Newspapers exploded. Fans buzzed. Critics paused. The shy kid from Antwerp was about to enter the highest tactical temple in football. There was fear, the same fear from childhood. But this time, he didn't hide from it. He ran through it. Pep didn't bring him to be fast. City already had speed. Pep brought him to be unique, to break games open when systems failed, to turn tight matches into fireworks, to make defenders regret being born. And from his first touch at the Etihad, you could feel it, electricity. Commentators giggled in disbelief. Opponents backed up in panic. Teammates widened their eyes like they'd just seen a myth arrive. He wasn't polished like Mahrez. He wasn't robotic like Prime Sterling. He wasn't predictable like traditional wingers. He was raw chaos wielded like a samurai blade. When Jeremy accelerates, it feels like someone pressed fast forward on only one person. When he stops, defenders lose balance. Time slows. Cameras struggle to follow. The Premier League, the League of Giants, suddenly had a winger who moved like a storm in fast motion. And with City came access to life's upper floors. Private training complexes, business-class flights, quiet dinners in Dubai with teammates, tailored casual suits, jewelry subtle but expensive, a life polished but never loud. Jeremy didn't want to look rich. He wanted to earn rich. Yet through all the luxury, the boy inside stayed humble. Family still visits. Prayers still whispered. Still loves simple food, silent evenings, phone calls with parents that ground him better than any trophy. Because luxury doesn't define him, discipline does. Doku isn't here to participate. He's here to redefine what a winger can be. In training, he moves like a glitch. In games, he feels inevitable. In life, he remains quiet thunder, humble power. But the true test is still coming. Can he become the most feared dribbler in the world? Can he become the Belgian heir after Hazard? Can he write his name next to Premier League legends? The boy who once feared failure now stands on the edge of immortality. And the storm has only begun. There's a moment every great athlete reaches. Not when the world starts watching, but when the world starts expecting. When applause turns to demand, when praise turns to pressure, when people no longer say, "Can he?" but instead whisper, "He must." For Jérémy Doku, that moment arrived fast as he runs. Because once you step into Manchester City's dressing room, you don't get time to breathe. You don't get to be promising or developing. Wolves don't care if you're young. Champions don't have patience for potential. At City, potential must become power, immediately. And suddenly, the shy boy from Antwerp wasn't being asked to run anymore. He was being asked to carry. Pep didn't want Doku just because of speed. Pep saw something else, something deeper, a spark Hazard once carried, a fearlessness rare in modern football, a dribbler who doesn't dance to entertain but cuts like a blade to destroy the structure of a match. When Doku received the ball on that left wing for the first time in sky blue, you could feel the stadium exhale, like the Etihad was bracing for turbulence. And then, the first defender stepped in, and Jeremy's hips shifted like water. One step, one shimmy, one explosion. Gone. The second defender didn't even get a chance. Football didn't just watch that clip, it replayed it on loop. Commentators couldn't find adjectives fast enough. Pep smiled, just slightly. The smile he reserves for weapons he knows will change the game. But it wasn't magic that brought Doku here. It was scars. People see the sprint. They see the skill. They see the humiliation of defenders and assume talent did the work. They never see the mornings where Jeremy trains alone before team sessions. They never see him studying footwork videos while teammates are resting. They never see hours spent learning decision-making, passing rhythm, finishing technique. At Rennes, he was the wild diamond. At Manchester City, he learned to shine with precision, and that precision didn't come easy. There were days Pep stopped training just to correct one movement, not the dribble, the pause before it. Because in City's system, chaos must be controlled. Doku learned when to explode, when to wait, when to cut inside, when to hold width. He learned the discipline of genius, and as he refined his game, his world changed. The kid who once wore simple tracksuits began stepping into minimalist designer outfits, subtle, sharp, black and white tones, pieces that whisper wealth instead of screaming it. Cartier jewelry tucked under clothing, a watch that flashes only when he lifts his arm to sign an autograph. Low-key luxury, the kind champions prefer. He bought gifts for family before buying a car for himself. He chose privacy over parties. He didn't move like a celebrity. He moved like a soldier built for a mission. Success didn't inflate him. It carved him. Inside Manchester City, players don't just train, they elevate each other. Bernardo Silva taught him patience. Kevin De Bruyne taught him timing. Haaland challenged him to be ruthless. But the biggest influence came from Pep, a man who doesn't say good unless he means world class. There were moments in tactical rooms where Pep paused video clips of Doku and pointed with that intense, surgeon-like expression. Here, this moment. Nobody else in Europe accelerates like this. Teammates clapped. Doku lowered his head, hiding a smile. Silence of pride is louder than applause, yet glory breeds pressure. As highlight reels multiplied and the world shouted his name, the expectations climbed. Suddenly, defenders didn't just try to stop him, they studied him. Analysts broke down his hips, his burst angles, his body lean. The Premier League started doubling him, fouling him, surrounding him like prey. But Jeremy wasn't prey. He was evolving into the hunter. Some games he didn't dribble. He used the threat of dribbling to open passing lanes. Other nights he slowed down the game, proved he could be patient. The football world thought they knew him. He showed them they still had no idea. Outside the pitch, success blossomed. City gave him access to the lifestyles most dream of: private golf course mansions, teammates' yacht invitations, off-season getaways to Dubai, Saint-Tropez, and Cannes. But Doku remains grounded the way only someone raised with immigrant discipline can be. He loves quiet nights with family, homemade Congolese food, laughter around the dinner table. He still plays video games with childhood friends. He still calls his parents before big matches. He still feels safest in humility, yet even humility can't hide success forever. He invested wisely: real estate, long-term management planning, trusted advisors, no flashy spending spree, no loud ego, just strategy, the same strategy that turned a small apartment kid into a global superstar. He drives fast cars, but rarely posts them. He vacations in luxury, but shares only sunsets, never champagne. He lives big, silently. Real power doesn't raise its voice. And as his name echoed across Europe, the comparisons began. Belgium once had Eden Hazard, dribbling royalty, creative king, fearless artist. When Hazard's shine faded, the world asked, who carries the torch now? Jeremy Doku didn't ask for that question, but he answered it anyway. Every time he storms past a defender, every time a stadium gasps, every time a commentator screams his name, Belgium watches with pride and relief. They don't just see a winger, they see legacy. Hazard had elegance, Doku has electricity. Together they represent two eras of dribbling beauty, grace and chaos. Yet this story isn't finished. Doku isn't crowned, not yet. The world watches, but judgment waits. Can he sustain it? Can he grow beyond dribbling into total dominance? Can he become a Ballon d'Or conversation someday? Questions hang like clouds, but lightning doesn't fear clouds. It cuts through them. The shy boy is gone, the storm has arrived, and the world is only beginning to feel the thunder. Pressure is a strange thing in football. Some players suffocate under it, others survive it. But there's a rare kind, the ones who evolve inside it, who sharpen beneath its weight, who turn expectation into oxygen. Jeremy Doku belongs to that third kind. Every game now, cameras wait for him. Commentators anticipate the moment he receives the ball wide, hips angled, shoulders loose, defenders already bracing. Fans rise to their feet, not because they know what he will do, but because they know something will happen. Excitement is a currency in football, and Doku prints it at will. But greatness never arrives without sacrifice. And behind the highlight reels, the filtered photos, the trophy parades, and glamorous team flights lies a truth only champions know. Pain builds brilliance. There are evenings Jeremy goes home tired, not physically but mentally. The emotional cost of elite football is invisible to the world. The relentless expectation, the obsession with improvement. The responsibility of representing a family, a country, a culture. He replays mistakes late at night, missed passes, mistimed runs, opportunities where he could have been sharper. While the world celebrates his dribbles, he studies the moments no one else notices. That's where champions are born, in the quiet correction of unseen flaws. This is not a boy chasing fame. This is a man chasing mastery, and mastery demands patience. History does not crown talent. It crowns consistency. City's system isn't about one good season. It's about building a legacy of impact. Doku knows that. He's learning from the environment, absorbing lessons from serial winners, the Haalands, De Bruynes, Walkers, Rodris, each one a pillar of elite mindset. And slowly, he's rising from student to weapon, from promise to threat, from young star to future legend. His life now has the comfort he once dreamed of. Dior jackets draped over his frame, subtle diamond bracelets glistening under low restaurant lighting, a wristwatch that costs more than his family's first apartment, a luxury SUV gliding through Manchester streets, black-tinted windows guarding his peace. But none of it feels loud. None of it feels forced, because Jeremy didn't chase lifestyle. Lifestyle followed success. He travels to calm places instead of chaotic parties, Amalfi Coast hideaways, Dubai sunsets, Paris rooftop dinners with family. He surrounds himself with loyalty, not noise. His circle is small, built on childhood bonds and family values. He knows fame attracts shadows, and Jeremy Doku has no intention of losing himself to spotlight storms. He has watched careers crumble from distraction. He has seen talent fade without discipline, and he refuses to be a cautionary tale. He would rather be a story of patience, purity, and power. There's a stereotype about fast players, that they rely only on pace. Doku destroys that stereotype every weekend, because speed may get you noticed, but intelligence keeps you relevant. He's learning spacing like Bernardo. He's refining timing like KDB. He's studying body angles like a boxer preparing for a title fight. And then, when the crowd gasps, he reveals that natural chaos only a chosen few possess. Sometimes a shoulder drop is enough to break a defense. Sometimes a hesitation ruins 5 men at once. Sometimes defenders regret stepping onto the pitch at all. Doku doesn't look like he's dribbling. He looks like he's bending gravity around him. And Pep knows exactly what he has. Not a winger, but a weapon designed for football in fast forward. The type of player who changes knockout games, who destroys low blocks, who scares fullbacks into nightmares. The world once said City lacked 1v1 chaos. Pep smiled, because he already recruited the storm. Belgium is watching him like a nation hungry for the next hero. The Premier League watches him like a threat to defensive systems. Fans watch him like a breath of fresh air in a world tired of predictable football. His next chapter holds questions, but each one echoes with possibility. Can he lead Belgium into a new era after Hazard? Can he evolve into a Ballon d'Or contender? Can he become the most feared winger of his generation? Can he turn highlight reels into history books? Time will answer. But right now, in the present moment, one truth is undeniable. Jeremy Doku stands at the intersection of talent and destiny, lightning calmed into human form. And when he runs, the world doesn't just watch. It holds its breath. Because football has many fast players, but only one moves like a rumor of greatness. Only one runs like the field tries to catch him and fails. Only one carries storm energy with a prayer-driven heart. Jeremy Doku isn't chasing superstardom. He's growing into inevitability. The quiet kid from Antwerp, the chosen winger of a new era, the storm with purpose. And as the world stands still, watching flashes of blue rip across Premier League nights, one thought rises louder than commentary, louder than applause, louder than hype. He hasn't even peaked yet. The lightning hasn't struck its final target. The story isn't finished. It's just beginning. Jeremy Doku, a future legend in real time.